Hello again folks, Ash from glassfusing.com.au here again for the next in our series of project videos. We thought we'd try a slight formatting change this time, so please feel free to watch the rest of the video if you would like to see these molds, half a handy sheet of each of these pieces of glass turn into these. So now that you've seen what the finished pieces look like, let's show you how to make them. For this particular project, because we have the three pieces of finished work, they came out of three different molds, which are, well, the three on the table before you. We've got our 29cm wok mold, our 18cm stainless steel tumbler, and our 22cm origami bowl. So although it does have funky edges, as you can see, a 22 by 22 square does the job pretty well. For these we need three different sized starting pieces of material. For the origami bowl we need 22 by 22. For the 29cm wok mold we need a circle with a maximum diameter of 29cm. And for the stainless steel tumbler we need a square shape or a circle shape. The maximum length of any particular angle, whether it be a side edge or a diagonal, can be 42 centimeters. So in this case we're going to just make a reasonably simple little 25 centimeter-ish square. Next up we need to choose some glass, and fortunately I've got a lot of it. And I've got a few more racks over there and another 2 racks outside there. Anyway, for this particular project I want to use Fuser Reserve glass. It's a nice organic looking glass, and because we do call these a coral bowl, although obviously no, they're not all bowls, but they're a coral pattern. We want them to look organic, and the Fuser Reserve range does that quite well. Due to the nature of the projects we're making, I want them to be transparent glasses primarily. So here are our three colours. As you can see, they don't match each other at all, they don't go well with each other at all, but we won't be putting them in the same room, so that doesn't matter at all. You will notice, however, they do all share the same organic quality, and that's what we want out of these because they're a coral bowl. With that in mind, let's start cutting some up. I'm going to start with the Amazon Clear Wispy, because it's sort of my favourite glass. It's a very bold colour. Speaking of bold colours, I'm using my manliest of squares today. It's a nice bold colour, and it's different. You don't see a lot of things made out of a bright green. Now, because we're doing a coral bowl, it's supposed to be organic, which means that whilst yes, I'm going to cut it with a strip, I'm going to cut it with a square. That is only because my freehand straight cuts, the word straight shouldn't be used anywhere with them. So, just going to take the cutter, we're going to do some long, some thin, some thick, some wide, some tiny. It is supposed to be organic, so I always just try to make different sizes. Now we'll just crack those off. One of the issues with Amazon Clear Wispy is that it will start to fracture all by its lonesome if you leave it long enough. So as you can see so far we've got lots of strips, none of which match. So far that is half a handy sheet. Now that I've had a new kiln controller put on, we can finally finish the project that's been outstanding for about 4 weeks. Now it hasn't actually been the kiln controller that stopped us, that's a quick and easy task for us, but we've been exceptionally busy. Anyway, we're going to build a coral bowl. As you've seen in the previous videos, we've already cut up most of the glass we're going to need. Now we're up to spreading it out and firing it off. So, to begin with, we've chosen a bowl. This is a wok bowl. It's 34 centimeters across. Because of that, we're going to need to make up a piece of papyrus that's bigger than that. We're just going to run with 40 by 40. And I've already cut a strip that is 40 wide. Never worry about the little dots we put on with a marker. They most certainly don't affect anything, and they burn off at a very low heat. With a nice sharp knife, draw a single line across it and it'll spread it off. The key to not tearing your papyrus is to always use a sharp knife. If you are finding it giving you jagged edges, pop a new blade in, or snap a segment off the blade, depending on the type of blade you're using. Now that we've got a piece 40 by 40, we might as well save a little bit of time later, and we'll put down a kiln shelf that is also 40 by 40. How's that looking? Paper goes on shelf, gives us full coverage. You don't need the full coverage, but it certainly doesn't hurt anything, and it gives us the opportunity to be able to fire a couple of little bits and pieces. Now, as we said before, the permanent marker doesn't hurt anything. We're going to pop our mould down. It's not quite centered, but that's okay. Draw a line with the tip of the pen pointed inwards. And that is the amount of space that we have to play with. Now, when you're building a coral bowl, it does take a couple of firings. Well, it can take a couple of firings, and in our case it's going to, because otherwise you'll end up with very large mounds, and we don't particularly want that. The main secret to it is to just go for random. You do want to have jutty out bits. For each firing, you don't want much more than 2 or 3 layers to be on top of each other, otherwise when it shifts things could spread out quite a lot more than you expect. And you don't have to have full coverage anywhere. Alright, I reckon that is enough for the first firing. So now we're going to go put this in the kiln. Hello again, folks. Okay, so we've just pulled the first batch out of the kiln, and it looks a little bit like that. Now, it does have a little bit too much glass in the centre here. I would have rather it been slightly more open, but honestly I think that'll look quite good once we've slumped it into a bowl. And as I said in the very last video, it's going into a 33 centimetre wide bowl slump, and it fits quite easily within the edges. Almost small enough to go into our 29 centimetre slump. There are only a couple of little pieces that just stick out slightly too far. Watching back on the videos last night, I was actually originally planning on doing a 29 centimetre slumping mould, as we can post them, whereas the 33-34 centimetre ones we can't. But as always, you're welcome to come and visit the studio. Alrighty. The next one we're going to do up, I'll slump all 3 at the same time. The next one we're going to do is our stainless steel tumbler. Now it's 180 centimetres tall, which means that we could do a slumping piece 180 plus 180 plus the width across the top here, which is 45. However, that's taking us quite far down to the kiln. I was originally thinking of doing 25 centimetre square, and now I think I'll do a 30 centimetre square. It's much of a muchness either way. Same as we did last time. We just want to make some straight cuts, and then we'll make some not straight cuts. And I'm cutting the wrong side of this glass. Which I'm going to pay for right now. Okay, so with grozing we want to pull directly away from the glass. and watch it crack off because I cut the wrong side. Not so much of a problem on this one because we will use all these little bits, but certainly not the sort of mistake you want to make normally. Got a fair one on that one. So yeah, the reason it doesn't break well on this side is because the score is not consistent, because we've gone across a piece of the glass that's quite uneven. So it just doesn't want to break. Fortunately, Coral Bowl will use everything. Now, flipping over to the actual side of the glass, that's a much better idea. Since that gives us a flat score, the grozer should now just grab it and break it. He said confidently. But again, doesn't matter. Although I do want some full width parts, so with any luck, any minute now one of these is going to break properly. There we go. I am going to want to use about half this piece of glass, so that's 5, 10, 15, so I've still got a while to go. Some of these are going to be long enough that we can just snap. No, they're not. What I always find is most important is just sounding confident. Alright, I've got to adjust this camera angle because that's rubbish. There we go. Now maybe you can actually see some things as I cut them and my hand's not completely in the way. Yes. Grab the glass near the score line, pull straight backwards, or straight away, and you should get nice clean cuts, provided you've scored on the correct side. 5, 10, 15, we're almost at halfway of this handy sheet. I reckon that's going to do us. So you can grip it, pull straight away, and the very last one, of course, doesn't break nicely. That's okay, so we've still got half a handy sheet left. It doesn't look like it in that can. There we go, now it looks like it. Still got half a handy sheet left, which we'll use for a different project. So I'll pop that away. Okay, so now that we've cut them all up into strips, we'll flip them over to get some idea of the pattern. You can see we got lots of small pieces because I cut the first couple the wrong way up, which is unfortunate, but again, we're doing this in front of you and I'm not going to pretend that mistakes don't. Right then, when all I was looking for was a 30 by 30 piece of papyrus, which I've got here. Yes, you can do this on a kiln shelf just with kiln wash. We're short of time and feeling lazy. So the final piece, we want to be just smaller than this sheet of paper, and we don't want to just build up half a handy sheet. We want to actually make some interesting looking things. So I'm thinking something along the lines of that. Now if I had done this on a kiln shelf, I'd actually just pop that straight in. But I didn't, so now my challenge is going to be to transfer this onto a kiln shelf without losing the shape. Alrighty, I'll go take care of that, and I'll show you the results straight after this. Hi again folks, another day done. Unfortunately we only get one opportunity a day to run these at the moment. We've only got the 3 kilns in operation and just one of them is big enough for this sort of a work. But that's okay, we're getting through. So, just a quick recap. the first day gave us this one, and this was half a handy sheet of glass with half a handy sheet of clear glass. The one we fired off last night is this one, a much more open lattice work. That was half a handy sheet of glass with no clear glass, but I think it'll go very, very well once it's slumped. So for this third one, we're going to do half a handy sheet of coloured glass. Other than that, the rest will be the same. Unlike yesterday, today I'm going to remember to flip that over before starting to break it off. There was one little thing that I remembered yesterday which I haven't really spoken about, and that's what we use in our cutters. There are a number of cutting fluids on the market. We prefer the one that's easiest of all to buy, which is baby oil. Obviously nice and easy to buy, as you can get it at Coles, Woolworths, just about everywhere. It certainly does the trick for us. If you do have your favourite cutting fluid, then use that. As with most things, a lot of the times we get questioned, what's the best one for me? The simple answer to that is whatever you most enjoy using. Let's put that there so that you can actually see some of these breaking off. Well, that's a new one. Every now and again things are just not going to go well for you. Sometimes things are never going to go well for you. And other times it will, of course it will. So, half a handy sheet of glass, 5, 10, 15. So that's our maximum point. So that's exactly one handy sheet. Let's just pop that off. Oh, this is tough glass. Now, this is the one we call Fuses Reserve number 67, and it's actually a very thick glass. It's probably about 3.5 to 4 mil, whereas almost all spectrum glass is 3 mil. And that probably contributes to the slight difficulty in breaking I was having before, but I also assume that was just a particularly hard piece. No need to live in the past. So for this one, it's going to be our origami bowl. I'm sure I have a clean one, but this one will do for this. Now to size up the glass, even though it's oddly shaped on the edges here, and as you can see this edge here, it has a big scallop, but if we turn it sideways so you can see it, a simple straight line will actually do that edge. It'll do all edges. So the size of this one will be 25, 10, 15, 20, up to 24 centimeters by up to 24 centimeters. So I think we're going to run with 23 centimeters, give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. So a 23 centimeter square, just like the other ones. We'll lay it out. I will grab a piece of 30 by 30. So this is a 30 by 30 sheet of papyrus. We want it to be 24, so that's taking 6 centimeters off the edge. So we'll take 3 centimeters off the edge, we'll take 3 centimeters off the edge, 3 centimeters off the edge, and 3 centimeters off the edge. So that's the size we've got to stay inside of. And we can double check that just by putting this down. And yep, that will work a treat. So same as before, although because these are a little bit short, we are going to shorten some of these up. Not this one, that's fine. We can have a point to point there. We can have a point to point there. There's no need to be exact with any of these. So we're going to go for something like this. It's not going to be this pattern because I'm now going to take it up over to the kiln and it's going to be put on a kiln shelf. It's going to change quite dramatically, and I just put them on to see how much glass we would actually be filling up without adding any clear. I don't think that any clear is needed for this one. It'll provide actually quite a dense bowl somewhere in the middle of our first two anyway, just because of the size restrictions. As you can see, the first one was an entire 30 by 30. Whereas this new one is a 20. Well, it's going to be a 23 by 23. So the simple shrinking of the area is going to tighten up the lattice work. That should give us a nice comparison between a nice closed lattice just with outside edges, a very open lattice work, and this one I'm going to aim for in the middle. Whether or not I use all of the glass that's on display, some of it can always be used for frit. Okay, we've now got all three pieces fused together, just the slumps to go. As you can see, I'll declutter a smidgen. So first off the bat is going to be the most open lattice work piece we've made. It's, well, extremely open. It's got no clear at all in it. It's only made out of half a handy sheet of Fuses Reserve number 4. It takes up a space approximately 30 by 30. It's going to sit on top of this 18cm stainless steel tumbler mould. We'll put a piece of fibre paper just on top. That will balance over there, and then we'll take it to slumping temperature. We'll watch this one fairly carefully as we fire it, and when it's bowed down, or when it's bent down to about the level we want, and it's got a nice flat base for sitting on, we'll start cooling it down. So yeah, it's a lovely open lattice work, full of quite nice disjointed points. It should look fantastic as a little table decoration. Next up, we've got our circular one. This one's made up of half a handy sheet of Amazon and Clear Wispy, and half a handy sheet of Ice Clear. As you can see, it's got a lattice work on all the outside edges, but it's quite full in the middle. I was actually hoping those two holes either wouldn't be there, or there would be another hole here, but it didn't work out that way. Oh well. Still, it's going to look excellent as a bowl. We're going to pop it into it's one of our 34cm ones. We don't actually sell this one on the website as it's too large for us to post. I was originally planning on doing this on a 29, accidentally grabbed the wrong one. We do offer these for sale if you come and visit us, so come and visit us. It's a tiny fraction too big for a 29, only about there and about there. Otherwise I would just pop it into something that you can make as well. But to be honest, the shapes are almost exactly the same, so it'll look the same either way. And finally, we've got our last one. This one's the origami bowl. It's a lovely deep mould, and this one is again just a half a handy sheet of Fuses Reserve number 67. Because it's a bit smaller than the other one, we didn't add any clear at all, although if it was, because it's only 23 by 23, it doesn't need any clear, and because we still wanted it to have nice open spaces. There's the same amount of glass in both of these pieces, but as you can see, if I line up corner and corner, there's quite a lot more orange and clear and white, so the Fuses Reserve number 4, than there is of the Fuses Reserve number 67. And so, lovely open lattice work, moderately open lattice work, and fairly closed lattice work. So it all does just come down to how much how much glass you're using for a given piece. Next up, we're going to kiln wash our moulds one at a time, and then we'll fire them all together. I would normally pop all 3 moulds in at once, but just because of the size variety, we will fire one of our smaller kilns 3 times in order to get this done. So this guy fits quite nicely on there. He should drape well. Alrighty, we've shown you how to prime moulds before, and you've all done it before. The only trick that we're going to do obviously is that we'll prime it with Primo Primer, because we like Primo Primer and these aren't going high enough to need high fire. Once we've primed them, we're going to take them up to about 250 degrees for 20 minutes, which just dries out the mould and prepares the primer for use. Hello again, folks. I was just going to run them all up and slump them, but then I remembered that I have never actually explained how to get one of these to work. There are a number of ways. The easiest is to use the ceramic version, which primes really easily, but these ones are significantly cheaper. To get them to work, we're just going to use a little bit of fibre paper. This one's a 3mm, but it could be 2, could be 1, doesn't really matter. All we want to do is to have it cover the top of the slumping form. So as we can see, if we turn it up this way, this piece is larger than the bottom of the tumbler. So all we want to do is put the tumbler in about the middle, draw a line. Again, these Sharpie marks burn off readily in the kiln, so there's no need to worry about them. And now we just want to cut out the circle. And this is a part of arts and crafts that I was always bad at. Okay, so now we have a circle. I hope I did some of that on camera, which fits over the top of the tumbler. For the sides, in this case we probably wouldn't bother, because we are just going to put a piece of we're going to put him on top and slump it in, and I'm going to watch it carefully and stop it before these get to the sides of the tumbler mould. But for ones where you do want them to impact on the tumbler completely, to make something like that, so that's just one of our little napkin-y holder things. You'll notice it goes straight onto the tumbler, and all 4 points touch. Can I get that in shot? Maybe. Anyway, all 4 points here do impact on the tumbler, and it forms a tight fit. So if that wasn't primed, the glass in the tumbler would now be a single item. So we need to get some primer onto the tumbler, and it is stainless steel. So if we put some on up here out of the way, we try to put primer on it and it's just going to run off and not do much at all. To prevent it from running off, I'm just going to use a 60 grit hand pad. Do it one way. Do it the other way. Now I would do the whole tumbler, not just one little section, but I'm on video. Once we've got something on it, it sticks better. Unfortunately, for the very first time you fire one of these, it's a long process. You have to get this on there and wait for it to dry, and then you move on to the next section, wait for it to dry, wait for it to dry, wait for it to dry. Fortunately, we're under a radiant heater up here, so it will actually dry fairly quickly. Once you've got your first coat on though, every other coat after this one is nice and easy. Alrighty, I will get back to priming. And here's the results now they're all freshly out of the kiln. As you can see, we've got 3 very different pieces, so we'll talk about one at a time. This was our Amazon Green and Clear. It's on a fairly shallow bowl mould. It's got a nice centre on it. It does have a nice flat base, and all the edges are quite nicely detailed. All in all, I'm very happy with that one. It was half a handy sheet of Amazon Green plus about a quarter of a handy sheet of Ice Clear. Next up is this one. This was our origami bowl mould, and as you can see again, the sides are all lovely and interesting. From the top it's also just the same. Again, it's got a lovely smooth base. We will put bump-ons on all of these just to make sure they stay where we want them to. But as you can see, it sits perfectly fine without them. We've got kids in the house, so definitely bump-ons. This was Fuses Reserve 67, just a half a handy sheet. Lastly, we have a piece of Fuses Reserve number 4, and we've slumped this over the top of one of our 18cm stainless steel vase formers. As you can see, it's a nice little vase. These two little bits unfortunately were touching during the firing. They haven't fused together because it was only the slump firing, but if I saw it while it was happening and was pretty tempted to go get a glass manipulator and fix it up so it would form a nice tight bird cage, but in the end decided that this was a coral bowl slumping and fusing video, not a manipulating glass in the kiln video. So it is how it decided to come out. The first two were fairly standard slumps. We took them up to about 663 degrees. I think they were 660 and 662 degrees. But close enough to a standard spectrum firing guide for the first two. For this one, because it was such thin glass, it's only a single layer of Fuser Reserve number 4, and it was coming over the top of such a large drop-off. We ran the standard spectrum fuser firing guide for slumping up until about 570 degrees, and then we slowed it down and it hit 590 before it turned into this shape. At that point we stopped running the elements and we cooled it down to about 550 with a crash cool, and then let the standard 510 anneal take place and the rest of the slumping firing guide finish off. Alright, that's been another nice fun project. We got 3 done this time, which is, well, a lot, but we wanted to do something special because it has been a little while since we've made any videos. If you've got any comments, questions, concerns, want any hints, tips or cheats, kindly drop us an email at info@glassfusing.com.au, or put a comment in below here, or put a comment on Facebook. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you.